What's up guys, Chadley here, back with another Borderlands 3 video for you guys. In today's video, we're going to be looking at Flak NUKEM. Now this build is actually one of the most fun builds I've made so far for Flak. I've been pretty locked into a crit build Flak like most people have over the course of the past 2 months for this game. But switching over to a Gamma Burst Radiation Flak has been some of the most fun I've had with Flak so far. With this build, you get insane mobbing potential, and you can still do some pretty decent damage to bosses. There's times you can kill like Trant or Kilovolt like within a couple of seconds. It's pretty nuts, and I don't even have like the best anointed gear right now. I'm still farming out that. That's actually why this video is going up today instead of yesterday. I was trying to get a couple more anointments that would really help out this build. Wasn't able to get them, but I'll point out what those anointments should be, and you guys can try to get them yourself. So, looking at this build, we're going to start off in the Master Tree as we're going to be using Gamma Burst. So this skill, actually very underrated, so this has been a lot of fun to use. So, first off, 3 points into Persistence Hunter. We're going to get more damage, and our Gamma Burst is going to last longer. Then these skills, basically pointless, but we need 2 points to get down to the next one, so I just put 1 in each, but you can do whatever you want with those 2 points. Then moving down, 5 into Frenzy. Every time your pet attacks somebody, you're going to get a stack of Frenzy. So you can get up to 40% extra damage. So that's a little nuts. And then he bites, your pet is going to be reflecting damage back to enemies. And with our class mod, this is going to pair very well. Then Who Rescued Who? Whenever your pet deals damage, Flak regens health. And whenever Flak deals damage, the pet regens health. So if you guys want to put a couple points from He Bites into here, make it like 4 in 1, that's up to you. I usually don't have too much trouble staying alive with the augments on this class, so that's why I only put 2 into there. Then I skipped Psycho Head and a Stick and Hive Mind. But Barbaric Yop, your pet bonuses are going to be like way better. As you can see, 200%. So that is insane. That is very helpful. 5 points into there for sure. 1 point into Mutated Defenses. When your pet is at low health, it gains damage reduction and regenerates health. And so your pet is going to get 40% of its max health over 6 seconds. And 30% damage reduction for 6 seconds, and it's just a cooldown of 15 seconds. So the long cooldown, really not that bad. Definitely helps out a lot for your pet. Then that will also let us get Shared Spirit. When Flak is at low health, a portion of all damage they take is shared to their pet. And these two combined, you're going to get great survivability, because even if it brings your health down to low health, your pet's going to survive. It's not going to be a big deal. Then for our pet, Great Horn Skag. This is just because of damage and gun damage. The Iridian Skag is damage and fire rate, but damage and gun damage definitely way better, especially with a gun damage of 30%. Then for the augments for Gamma Burst, we're going to have Empathic Rage. It's going to give us 20% more damage while Gamma Burst is active. Then Burst Aid. So whenever you put down your Gamma Burst, it's going to create a rift wherever you put it, and you're going to regenerate 20% of your max health per second. This skill is insane. You can stand in the middle of a dozen enemies, and you will not die. You will sit there at basically full health all the time. You can just sit there, pull out your Lyuda or whatever you want to be using, and just pick off everybody. It's a great, great augment. Then moving over to our Stalker skill tree. We're actually using the Stalker skill tree and not using Fade Away. Isn't that great? So we're going to put 5 points Self-Repairing System, some more survivability, and 5 points into Fury's Attack. This is going to give us more gun damage. Then Eager to Impress, we're going to put 5 points into there. My class mod gives it a +3. This is going to help us get our Gamma Burst back as quickly as possible. And the more you have Gamma Burst, the more damage you're going to be doing with the augment and such. So moving down, Lick the Wounds. Your pet is actually going to be alive a lot, and you're going to be standing next to it in the rift, so this thing can revive you even if you somehow manage to go down in that rift. you'll be perfectly fine when your pet revives you. Turn tail and run while standing still, gun damage and fire rate increases, and then when you're moving, you regenerate health and get damage reduction. This also pairs well with the Rift, because you can just stand there in one spot and do extra damage and shoot a little bit faster. Then the Fast and the Furious, when you're above half health, gun damage and movement speed are increased. Once again, with the Rift, you're basically going to be at full health all the time, so you're going to get 25% extra gun damage. On the Hidden Machine, when an enemy has no target or is attacking a different target, you're going to do increased damage against them. This is going to pair very well with the class mod I have set up for this class, as what it's going to do is when you create your Gamma Burst Rift, all the enemies are going to turn and shoot your pet. And so none of them are actually going to be targeting you, so you can do increased damage against all of them. Now at this point, we got 1 point left. We're going to put that in the power inside. Flak and Flak's pet gain increased damage when Flak activates an action skill, and if you're at full health, the damage is doubled. So when you activate your Gamma Burst to start, you're going to get 50% extra gun damage. So that is very, very helpful, and it lasts for 15 seconds. Which is a good chunk of your Gamma Burst, so you can just stand in there and wreck things for the first 15 seconds of Gamma Burst. Now this build is obviously highly focused around radiation, as you guys can tell, but I do like to have at least one weapon that does not do radiation, because if there's something immune to radiation, you'd kind of be screwed. So with the recent buff to the Maggie, I really like using it. It is insane. So you guys can use whatever you want in this slot, though. Whatever you guys feel like your weakness is for that current moment, you can put that in that slot. The Trevinator is actually, I think, really underrated. I don't see very many people using it. This gun can actually do some insane damage. And I know it's a Malawan, but you don't have to charge it. It actually shoots 3-round bursts. So the only thing that kind of holds this weapon back from just being absolutely ridiculous is its magazine size. You only get 3 bursts out of it, but it reloads pretty dang quick and you can do some serious damage with that. Then a radiation Lyuda. Lyuda is still really good weapon, does some high damage, and when you're standing in the Rift and you need to pick off some targets at range, this is definitely a gun you should be using. Then this would not be a nuclear flak build if we're not using a Jericho. This thing is pretty insane for clearing out large groups of enemies, as well as dealing some pretty good damage to bosses. Normally I'll run in, throw some grenades on the ground, shoot off a clip of the mortar Jericho, and then I'll switch to like the Trevinator or a Lyuda. Then, to make sure we're not dying from our own radiation and we can just chuck grenades at our feet, we're going to be using the red suit. You gain immunity to radiation damage, so definitely a necessity there for this build. That is basically like the only necessity for this build, but moving down, we have the surge grenade right now. Ideally, blight grenades are probably your best bet. So they're actually purple grenades for those who don't know, and then where it gives like your grenade effects. So for the surge, it says exploder and surge. It will be blight in there in one of those 4 spots. So if you guys can get one of those, you're going to be doing some crazy damage. But the surge still works very, very well. And there's times it kind of gives me some like pipe bomb effect. It doesn't quite like go through them and create all the noises that the pipe bomb did. But there's certain times I will throw one of these directly at like an enemy. I was farming Trunt the other day with it, and it would just kind of randomly get rid of like a quarter of his health just instantly. It wouldn't go down, it would just disappear. So I'm still trying to test that, but this thing does a great job. Basically what it does is when you throw it, it's going to bounce a couple times and then just start splitting into a bunch of grenades, and you can use this to get the radiation effect on yourself and just kind of spread that radiation all around you. For the class mod, we're going to be using the Red Fang class mod. So while Gamma Burst is active, your pet is going to taunt all nearby enemies. So this is where it pairs well with Hidden Machine. Everything's going to turn and attack your pet, and you're going to have free reign to shoot at all the enemies and get increased damage on them. Also, with this mod, I'm getting weapon damage and Malawan weapon damage, so that's actually going to help out my Trevinator as well. Then for the relic, we're going to be using a projector relic. This is obviously because We want to get that radiation effect on us because we don't actually get hurt by it, but we can still get the effect. You'll see the particle effects on your screen. So we can still do that elevated damage output with it. Then, so right now this one just has like the slam singularity effect, but you can use whatever other relic you want as long as it has the elemental damage boost. Then as a cherry on top, we have area of effect damage and radiation damage as some bonuses on it. So that works out pretty dang well. Some other weapons you guys can use is the Rowan's Call. That thing does a great job. If you have a radiation dictator, that thing is going to melt some bosses that you can get like right up next to. So if you're farming Trant or something like that, you guys can just get right up in his face with the healing rift, pull this thing out and just melt him. Especially if you guys get some good anointments on it. But we're just going to run through Electricity here on Mayhem 3. Right now we got fairly neutral modifiers. The only thing, our Maggie isn't going to be doing the greatest, as it is a normal bullet damaged weapon right now. But otherwise, we're not using Incendiary, not using Shock, and who cares about if they're more accurate. So let's just go ahead and see how this does. So what we're going to do basically is put out our Rift. So anywhere in here, we're just going to heal. And it's going to be insane. We're not really going to take damage that much. See, we lost half our health, and now it's already full again. So we can just stand here. We can shoot out the Jericho. Basically kill anything around us. Then we can switch over to the Trevinator once all that does. Unfortunately, we're terrified right now, so we can't really hit our shots. But as long as you got that radiation effect on you, you're going to be melting everything. That's one of the really strong parts about this build, is it's very easy to put the radiation effect on you, and you can just keep chaining it, and it just works very, very well. So then we're going to chuck some grenades at our feet. This is going to get the effect on us and spread it around to all other enemies. So armored targets like this badass militant are probably going to be your biggest pain, but when you're standing in the rift, it doesn't really matter if it takes like a couple extra seconds to get through that armor. It really doesn't even take that long anyways. I wasn't even having the radiation effect on me, and we still melted through his armor with the Trevinator. Here, we got a hardened badass zealot here, so I'm just going to put this down. I'm not even going to shoot. You guys can see we're just not dying right now. Everything's just now shooting at our pet too, and we can just sit here with full health. And we can just try to like melt through these guys if we want to. Throw some grenades at the ground. It is pretty hard to die. And like I said earlier, if you do manage to go down while in this rift, your pet is right here. He's going to pick you up and you're going to be able to continue your day. So the survivability with this build is a little ridiculous. Let's see if we can melt through this anointed maniac real quick. Oh yeah, no radiation effect. Don't even have my rift out. The anointed enemy's gone. So you can still do some crazy damage output with this build. All right, now I'm going to show you guys how well this build actually does against bosses as well. So we're going to go ahead and fight Kilovolt here. Just going to run up to him, put our rift down, throw a couple grenades. And you guys can see these surge grenades kind of go insane. Jericho just gets rid of his shield. Now he's immune. We're just going to wait for him to do his little thing, and we can continue messing him up here. So just chuck grenades kind of at their feet, and you can kind of bounce them up, and then they'll just start kind of spreading. The main issue with this build is just trying to see, but I know they'll be addressing kind of the explosions and being able to see. Today, they actually released a hot patch for badass enemies who shoot their rocket launchers. Those particle effects are much quicker now, so they don't linger on your screen, and it's a little bit easier to see. And they said they're going to continue working on the particle effects, so it's not quite as obnoxious as it is right now. So as you guys saw, this build can go nuts in mobbing with survivability and damage output, as well as crowd control. So it's got all three things you need. Then it even has a damage output on bosses. This is mainly bosses you can get close to, so things like Grave Ward. Definitely a crit build is still going to kill Grave Ward quicker, but enemies like Kilovolt and Trant, stuff like that, you can still put a pretty big hurt on them. Now, quick note before I wrap up this video, some ways you guys can actually try to make this build even better is if you get some crazy terror anointments. So on your shield or grenade, You can get an anointment that inflicts terror on yourself when your action skill ends, and it can stack up to 3 times. You can pair this with anointed guns that do terror, so you can get some that have insane ammo regen, some that give you like more crit bonuses, as well as you can get crazy health regen when you have terror, as well as damage reduction. So the main 2 I'm looking for right now are the health regen and damage reduction. So if you have both of those and something that can inflict terror on yourself, even after this Halloween event is done, you're basically going to be invincible with this build, because you can just keep throwing out your gamma burst like every 30 seconds, whatever it is, and you're going to inflict terror on yourself, and you're just going to have these effects that decrease the amount of damage you take, as well as your health regen. So even when you're not in the rift, you're going to be regenning crazy health. So definitely those are some anointments I'm looking for. And if you guys want to find them, go ahead and do it. They increased the drop rates of Hectoplasm, so Haunt is a lot easier to farm right now. So definitely go in and do that if you haven't already. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this video. If you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful, make sure to leave a thumbs up on it to let me know. If you're new here, consider subscribing for more Borderlands 3 videos. I'm going to be going through all the characters, but right now mainly Flak, and just doing some fun builds with him. Some stuff that isn't crit machines, so definitely keep an eye out for that. Something else I want to do with Flak is you guys give me like a weapon to try to make good with a build with Flak. So right now I already have an idea for the first episode, and that's going to involve the crossbow gun. So I'm going to try to do something with that. You guys will see that really soon, so definitely stick around for that. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.